Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are going to talk about stress and how we deal with it and how it affects women and all that. And one of the reasons why I brought this topic up as an idea for an episode is because, well, partly because we all deal with stress. That's just part of life. But also because just recently, one of my cousins who is very, very dear to me, he's basically like my big sister because we grew up together. And she's only 5 years older than me. Just recently, she collapsed. She had gone to the store and she collapsed and just fell out. And thankfully, there were people around. So somebody found her and called an ambulance. Otherwise, she could have frozen to death. The ambulance came, took her to the hospital. And at first, all we knew was, oh my God, she collapsed. And at first, they thought that she had had a heart attack. Thankfully, she did not. They did all the tests and there was no damage to her heart. But she had all the stress markers of a heart attack in her blood, basically meaning that her body is reacting to all of the stress in her life. And she's had an incredibly stressful last few years. Her husband is very, very ill. He's quite a bit older than her. He's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She was caring for her aging and dying mother-in-law, who was also dealing with dementia. So all of this stuff going on and then moving and all this kind of stuff. And she's basically like the rock of our family, right? I have always sort of half joked that nothing can happen to her because she's the one who's going to have to deal with all the stress and help me and be my buffer. Never really stopped and thought about how much she really was dealing with, because it's not just her husband and her late mother-in-law, it's my mom, it's our aunt, it's all of the family stuff. It's almost like she became the family matriarch in a way, which isn't fair. That's not fair that we've done that to her. I don't think we did it purposely or maliciously, but it just sort of, that all fell to her. I was just thinking, if Robin had had better ways of dealing with the stress, then maybe she wouldn't have collapsed. Thankfully, she's okay. Like I said, she didn't have a heart attack. Thank God she's fine. Now doctors have put her on medications and they're monitoring her and she's back home and all this stuff. She really has to make a concerted effort now to manage her stress. Like, this was her wake-up call. Hopefully she makes these changes. Hopefully we make the changes that we have to make so that we don't continue to dump on her and take advantage of the strength that she has. She's always been that strong one that could be there for everybody. But now it's time for her to be there for herself. And so that just made me think, aside from scaring the hell out of me, making me worry that I was going to lose my person, basically my sister, it really made me think about, well, first off, dear baby Jesus, I hope she does what she needs to do to take better care of herself and reconnect with the things that give her joy and provide her peace. It also made me think that can be a wake-up call for all of us too. You have to have that wake-up call, because sometimes that wake-up call may just be the end. So I wanted to bring this to the show.
Well, holy shit, Raquel. I didn't know you were going to talk about all that. You're the crier, not me, but you brought tears to my eyes. I feel for you and your family, but also I'm that person in my family. Yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about. 100%. I became the matriarch of my family way before I should have. My sister's been gone and my mom has Alzheimer's, and From the perspective of your cousin, I can't speak for her, but I can speak for myself. I did everything I did because I wanted to, not because I had to, not because I was forced to, not because I was the only one that was going to do it. I did it because I wanted to. I wanted to take care of the people in my family.
Right.
Does it become overwhelming? Fuck yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when you and I were talking about the episode about Thanksgiving and having a feminist Thanksgiving holiday. I have thought about this so many times since, and this desire to take care of the family, and how in some ways, because there are some people who do so much, in some ways we rob the rest of the family of doing maybe what they should.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting topic. I did not know that this was going to go this way. This is not at all what I had in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you brought it up, and I'm happy that your cousin is doing better.
Yeah. Yeah. She's doing much better. And it was, it's one of those situations too, where it's like she had to grow up way too fast. And so growing up, for the longest time, I thought Robin was a grown up. And you know what I mean? She's only 5 years older than me, but I thought, oh, she's an adult. Well, no, she just was taking on so much adult stuff. She filled the void that was there. She stepped in when my mom and her mom needed help with us kids, even though she was one of us kids, but she was the oldest. She stepped in. And she dealt with so much. Basically, she was being treated like an adult when she was still basically a kid. And that role, that never stopped. Like that just continued. She maybe never had, and I'm putting words in her mouth, and this is me projecting onto her a bit, which is, probably unfair. In a lot of ways, from my perspective, looking at her life, it always seemed like so much of her life was tied up in our family, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but she didn't get that chance to break out and be her own person, aside from just being connected to our family.
What'd you say your cousin's name is?
Robin.
Here's to you, Robin. You kicked ass. You fucking kicked ass when someone needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Good job,
she did. Rob. She's a total badass.
And it speaks to this really, really, really is a feminist issue, because when there are things that happen within families, more often than not, because of the traditional roles, young girls often become women of the family way before they're ready to be. This is a huge, huge feminist issue.
The whole thing of not just women doing most of the household chores and whatnot, or caring for the babies, women also do the majority of the emotional labor.
Yes. I've been saying that for years. Yes.
And it's not to say that men don't love their families, blah, blah, blah. Who does the majority of setting appointments for the kids, scheduling appointments for the men, even keeping track of their social calendar, planning what the meals are going to be for the week, doing the grocery shopping, remembering all the in-laws' birthdays, planning all the birthday parties, and it all falls to the women. And it's very rare when the majority of that will fall to the man in the couple.
Yeah. And have you noticed when a man does do something like that, when they are doing the childcare or they are going off grocery shopping, they're like congratulated. Look at that great dad, man. Look at that great dad. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, but what the fuck? Why is it just, oh, that's what a woman does? And then there's a critical eye on how she's doing the grocery shopping or how she's caring for the children, or, oh no, she didn't take care of her pets well enough, or the appointments to the dentist weren't every 6 months. She fucked that up.
And I have some guy friends who they care for their children as much as the mothers do. they'll be out with their kids doing regular dad things, but being very involved. And there's one instance of a guy friend of mine told me where he was with his son and daughter, and somebody was like, oh, your daughter looks so cute. Did mom do her hair? And he's like, well, no, I did it. I mean,
for him,
I can comb her hair. And the lady was like, oh my God, that's so great. And he's like, I took care of my child. That's what I'm supposed to do. And he got really annoyed. And I'm like, well, there you go. And then another couple that I'm friends with, again, they have kids, and the school has been notified if there's something wrong, the first call should be to the dad because of the way that their jobs work. Like he's a little more flexible than she is. And every single time they call her, and every single time she says, y'all know it's notated in the file to call the dad first, right? Like he's more flexible time-wise than I am. And they're like, yeah, we know, but. And she's like, no, follow what's in the file. So society is taking a really long time to catch up.
It's those roles that we've talked about before. So I'm really glad you brought up this topic because I wasn't thinking about it in the same way that you were. I did do a little bit of online reading. I won't call it research because I'm not a researcher. I'm not a scientist, but I read a few articles. Some of the big things are chronic stress versus like just a normal stressor in your life. And what I realized when reading about it is I think there were points in my life that I was so chronically stressed. If you would have asked me if I was stressed out, I would have said no. I'd have been, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. That's my response to everything. I'm fine. Well, really what I started to say in the last, actually ever since my hysterectomy is it's not fine. It's not fine.
Yeah.
It's not. And I've started to realize that I didn't recognize stress because I was always stressed.
Yes.
Like always stressed. Always have a mental list of everything that has to get done for the day in my head. And I'm just like, ticking it off. I'm not doing that anymore, but get it. I totally get it. This goes back to body image. I sort of worried that the chronic stress would bring up all of my cortisone levels and would make me fatter than I needed to be. That's one of the reasons why I started working on stress is because I already have, anybody who knows me, I have a larger belly, and I think it's a stress belly. You know how some dudes, maybe women too, walk around with a beer belly?
Yep.
I feel like I have a stress belly.
Oh yeah. I feel like my belly, because for a long time I didn't have a belly, there was, chronic stress. I mean, I've talked about this before where it was like years and years and years and years and years of huge stress. And what I don't think I realized was that I was also perimenopausal at that time. And I started gaining weight in my midsection. And I didn't realize until much later that was an indicator of perimenopause. I must have had some idea that something was going on because I even talked to my doctors and was like, hey, can you test for menopause? And they were like, no, you're too young for that. I'm like, I'm trying to do what I need to do. Can you people just listen to me? And I did ask several times. And then they finally did check. They're like, no, you're fine. And then they just kept saying, oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, you need to lose weight. I'm like, dude, I am working out more than anyone I know. Like I am working out like a beast and I am not losing weight. Something is wrong. And of course they weren't going beyond, oh, you just need to lose weight.
I think that's pretty typical. Again, a really big feminist issue that I hear about over and over again, women going to the doctor. The real research that real scientists have done has mostly been done in the male dominated world. And so when we go in with complaints, especially like this menopause thing that you bring up, this is a topic that I really want to delve into in my own study because I don't think any of us were any bit prepared by anyone with any amount of information on what's normal that's happening to our bodies, what's not normal. And then we go to talk to our doctor and they say, just like what they told you, you should lose weight. Well, okay, we've all been told that. And we all know how to restrict our diet and we all know how to over exercise, and it's not working. It's not working. If it had worked, we'd all be thin.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone I know would be thin because We've all over-exercised and we've all restricted our calories.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, everybody I know.
Yep. Yep. Every single person.
It doesn't work.
Every single person. Yeah. And yeah, so just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
The hormones that women deal with, and I'm not really saying deal with, it's just our biology.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, the medical world doesn't really completely understand it, hasn't really studied it. And therefore, when they compare our health to that of a man, it doesn't work really for us.
Yeah, I mean, our bodies metabolize almost everything differently than men's bodies do. And even the way that our bodies process stress or react to stress in some ways is very different than the way that men process stress. Their men's bodies process it. The ways that it can affect women, and of course, yes, I did some quote unquote research.
Good.
That according to the Office on Women's Health, which is part of the US Department of Health and Human Services, the way that stress can affect women, headaches and migraines, depression and anxiety, heart problems, upset stomach, which can be any sort of like GI issue. I mean, think about it. If you have GI issues, your body doesn't absorb nutrients very well, and that can lead to a whole host of other things. Obesity, problems getting pregnant, menstrual cycle problems, decreased sex drive. All of these things, which can end up being very, very serious for our bodies and can have long-term effects. Seeing how stress can show up in women's bodies is huge, and our doctors need to realize this. And then not to just poo-poo it like, women's issues are, oh, you're being hysterical or you're being too emotional. I can't tell you how many times men have told me that I'm too emotional. And I'm like, okay, I may be emotional, but doesn't mean that there's not a reason for that emotion. So yes, stress does affect women's bodies in a different way. And all of this can lead to sleep trouble, weaker immune systems. I mean, all these things that can bubble up from stress. And we already know that women deal with an inordinate amount of stress, and not to mention just the stress of, the emotional labor of taking care of your family. But then think about the emotional issues and sort of safety issues that women have to deal with all the time of, is my home safe? Am I safe in my car? Am I safe walking from the grocery store to wherever? Am I safe getting into and out of my car? Is this person going to attack me? Am I safe in my workplace? I mean, all the things about safety that women have to worry about that men it's not something that they have to worry about generally. Stress is very much a feminist issue. It's not just, oh, stress is bad. Yes, stress is bad, but there's so much more to it than that.
What do you think causes your stress? Like, what are the things in your life that add to stress for you?
Work can be stressful sometimes. Finances can be stressful. Who am I lying? Finances are stressful. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. Making sure that everything's okay, right? Like making sure that all the bills are paid that need to get paid. Stress about my own health. Worrying about the people closer that are closest to me. Like I worry that all of my people are okay. I worry about Robin. I want her to be okay. And I want her to make the changes that she needs to make so that she can get better and get to an optimum state of being for her. I do spend a lot of time worrying about the future, which my therapist tells me I need to stop that. But I'm working on it. That's not going to change overnight. But there's a lot of, oh my God, is this going to be okay? Oh my God, how am I going to, am I going to end up living in my car? Oh my God, am I going to have enough money so that when I get to be old, I'm not living on cat food? And oh my God, I mean, like all of these things, if I'm not careful, I will work myself up into a tizzy. And then I'm, sitting there like not breathing right. I worry about my own health. Like, oh my God, do I weigh so much now that I'm not going to be healthy anymore? Am I doing enough to make sure that don't get me started about bigger issues that are outside of myself, like, oh God, are voting rights going to be for Black and brown people and women and everyone, are those going to be protected? Am I going to be safe wherever I go? Am I going to come upon some person who wants to hurt me for whatever reason? Is the war in Ukraine going to end soon and end peacefully? Or, oh my God, is it going to lead to World War III? These are things that cause stress for me. It's the immediate day-to-day stress of, is my home life okay? Am I making enough to pay all the bills? Do I make enough that I can, that I can have a little fun every once in a while? Am I saving enough? Is my health okay? Is my mom okay? Is my aunt okay? Is my brother okay? Like all these people, is everybody all right? It's those things that I have to learn and actively work on keeping in check. It's all of those things that I have to, and not to make it sound like, oh my God, all day, every day, I'm just a walking stress ball, because that's not true. I'm not, but because, most days I'm just like, everything's cool, everything's chill. I'm just taking it as it comes. It's all right. It's good. I got it, and things are great. But I think it's because of therapy and all the things and, mindset work and all these things that I'm able to have more of those days where it's just even keel and stuff can just like roll off my back. And I'm like, I'm all right. I'm in my bubble. I'm good. Everything's fine. Because when I leave here, get in my car and I'm fine. Everything's good. I can just leave stuff where it needs to be. I leave work at work, and then everything's good. If I didn't do the things to sort of keep an even keel, then it would, trust me, it would be a shit show. It would not be pretty. And I now know, partly again because of therapy and partly of trying to be aware of what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, I know when I'm starting to get to a point where I just need a timeout, whether that's taking a day off work and just going, I just need a day off, or having a day on the weekend where I don't do anything at all. Don't talk to anybody. Like I literally just have quiet time. If I don't do those things often enough, then it gets to be, just very shitty. I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with that, but
the question was what stresses you out, but you should tell us. It was good. I feel like you needed to get that out. Actually, I think that's part of stress reduction, is having a place to like get it out.
Yeah. I think we know a little bit of what stresses you out, but what stresses you out?
I feel like I have a lot less stress than I used to have.
Okay, good. How so?
COVID really changed my life. And I don't like to talk about this a whole lot because I want to be sensitive to the fact that COVID was devastating for some people. I know that people lost their loved ones. That's like the worst thing that can happen, right? Your parents die, or your brother, or your sister, or someone you love. And that didn't happen in our family. So for that, we're blessed. Mm-hmm. What happened in my house is that COVID slowed down my life because of my mom having Alzheimer's. I was able to work from home for the first time ever. I mean, ever in my life. And I never even thought it would be possible. And I never even actually desired to do it. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever desired to do it because I just didn't think it was in my cards. But when I started working from home, partly because there's no commute, it did free up a little bit of time. It freed up more time for my morning routine to be more about me. I think a lot of you know I wake up the earliest in the house so that I can either walk or run my dog. I've started doing yoga every day. I'm journaling every day since we had our podcast with Soulful Journaling, Haley.
Yes. Yeah. And
Haley Curtis, self-help
yes,
journal.
God,
Yeah.
I brain damage. Yes.
So all of those things, and I mean, fuck it, I might as well just say it. I gave notice at work. I've been given the opportunity to not work. I'm going to take a 2-year hiatus. I know I'm fucking blessed. I know that people don't have this opportunity, but that in and of itself, even though I'm mildly stressed right now, like working my way to that, but that has, I mean, can you imagine not working? It's just relieved so much stress. And it's made me realize how much of the stress that I had in my life, I don't know if everyone else is the same, but my life, the stress was about work-life balance. Because when I was at work, I felt guilty that I wasn't home with my kids. And when I was home with my kids, I felt guilty that I wasn't at work.
Even with your kids being older, you still felt that guilt, that mom guilt?
Fuck yeah, because your kids, they still need you.
Right. I mean, I guess not being a mom, I just always assumed from, everything that you hear in the press about mom guilt, it's always couched in a situation where their kids are either infants or like still very young.
I've been blessed because I made a career decision about 13 years ago. I was working in banking, and I remember, this is the mom guilt. I remember carrying Gabby in a car seat, Olivia I'm holding her hand and I'm walking into daycare, and my kids were the first kids dropped off every single day.
Wow.
And I had this boss that wanted to do a conference call every single morning. So I also had a cell phone in the crook of my neck while I'm holding my kids, walking them in, and I'm listening to her on mute, trying to catch everything that I'm trying to catch, dropping my kids off without really being able to say goodbye to them because I'm on this thing. It started at 8:30 every morning, dropping them off. So I'm driving to work. I get to work. I'm working in banking. The bank closes at 5:30. And at 5:30, she wanted to have a conference call every single day to go over our sales results. So I had to stay from 5:30 to 6. And at 6, I would drive like mad to go get my kids. This is actually why I quit banking. I would drive like mad. And my kids were the last kids picked up every single day. I had this mental calculation of how many hours I spent with my kids. So we would get home at 6:30 and they'd go to bed at 9. So my kids saw me for 2 hours every day.
Wow.
That's fucking mom guilt, right?
Wow.
But I was making pretty decent money. So that was kind of the trade-off. I had always said, wouldn't it be great if there was this job for moms that was about 35 hours a week and you got paid well enough to do it? But those jobs don't really exist.
That's true.
So when I left banking and I went into the grocery industry, everybody said I was crazy. But the number one reason I did it was because of those conference calls, because I couldn't even be with my kids when I was trying to drop my kids off in the morning. It was so sales focused and so results driven. And so what can you create? And even though I had loved that type of work, I started to see the effects on me and the effects on my family. So I took this huge step back. And I went into the grocery industry. And even though the hours were longer, it worked better for me because if my kids had a field trip, I could go to the field trip and I could just work other times. And because I was divorced, the kids would go to their dads on Friday night. So I would close the store on Friday night, open the store on Saturday morning. Then I'd go pick up my kids Saturday afternoon, and I'd have all Saturday and Sunday to be with my kids. Wow. So I had like a schedule that worked for me. To be honest, I never felt like I had enough time with my kids. I just never felt that way. So even though, flash all the way back up to COVID, my mom has moved in, we're at home. We were all at home because no one could go anywhere. Even my oldest moved back in. I started to really see the benefits of being home, like being with my mom, being with my kids, being with my dog. Is it perfect? Is there stress? Sure, there's stress, but the stress is so different. I think for me, a lot of my stress was the stress I put on myself about If I'm not at work, I feel guilty. If I'm not at home, I feel guilty. I still feel that to some extent, but I'm like really working on bye-bye work guilt. Again, knowing that I'm incredibly privileged to have this opportunity. I know that. I almost feel bad about talking about it because I know it's not something most people get to ever experience.
I for one appreciate that you are very aware of the privilege that you have on various levels. And I appreciate that you acknowledge that. What I also appreciate is that you're very honest about what's going on in your life and how the issues that we talk about affect your life. It can't be that sort of comparison guilt either. Do you know what I mean? Just because you have privilege doesn't mean that you don't also have stress, and that because if it stresses you, regardless of where you're stationed in life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's great that you're talking about it at all. Yes, recognize and acknowledge the privilege, but don't feel bad about acknowledging that shit, yeah, there's still stress.
Yeah, there's stress. It's very different than it used to be for a couple reasons. One, because I'm letting go of the work stress.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that I've also really, really worked on managing the stress. When I watched the YouTube videos in preparation for this, the biggest thing that they talked about, the professionals, people who have done research, talked about for managing stress, the most important things can be, if you can fit them into your lifestyle, getting exercise and having mindfulness moments, whether that means like yogic or breathing exercises or meditation, or even allowing yourself some time to just be and read a book, or allowing yourself to sit and watch TV.
The mindfulness portion, knowing when you are reacting out of stress as opposed to reacting out of your truth or your true nature. Just getting into that space of recognizing what's going on with you and knowing, okay, I need to pull back now. Let me take a few minutes, even if it's just, let me go outside for like 10 minutes. Sometimes just going outside and getting some fresh air and being in the sun is so healing. It can be so relaxing.
I have definitely been on a yoga streak lately, and I'll put in yoga with Adrian, and I'll put it on and I'll get all set up on my mat, and I'm like sitting there, and my dog runs up, starts licking me, starts biting me, starts, and I finally get the dog like settled. And then my mom's walking back and forth in front of the TV. So I've just learned to like kind of like tune her out.
Yep.
And there'll be a kid upstairs going, "Mom, mom, mom." And I'm just like, don't listen. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, was this like de-stressing, or was this actually a more stressful experience that I just had? Because sometimes that's actually the way it goes. But I keep trying.
Well, that's good that you keep trying.
My mom, the other day, I was doing yoga with Adrian, and it was this one called Joyful Yoga. And I thought, okay, good. This is really what I need, because I've been a little down in the dumps lately. And I was doing the yoga, and she said, okay, do prayer hands, bring it up to your chest, breathe. And my mom walked by, and my mom took her hands and she went like this, and she put them up to her chest, and she went, and I was like, oh, Mom, good job. I got so excited. And my mom went, fuck you. And you know what I did? I burst into tears.
Oh,
like,
no, I'm sorry.
I know it's the craziest thing, because like I'm in this peaceful Zen. My mom has Alzheimer's. That is not my mom, right?
Yeah.
But it's so hard to remember. I'm like peaceful, and she goes, fuck you. And I'm like, and my feelings are hurt. Like my feelings are hurt. And I'm like, but that is what I've, like, a few days have passed and I've been working on that. And it is my biggest work in this life to feel worthy. And when she does stuff like that, which isn't her, by the way, but when she does that, I feel so unworthy. And I need to learn to stop having that reaction to the outside. To like be in my zen, and it's my zen. It doesn't belong to her. But man, does that trigger me.
Okay, first off, you are so worthy.
Thank you.
You are so worthy. And I know you know that. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, you are so worthy. The fact that you took a few days and you worked through it, you thought it out, you know, you maybe journaled on it some. Yeah, that is a huge, huge step.
Yeah.
So good on you and good on your progress that you did that. That's an example of you working through your stress in a healthy way that is good for you and that supports you. That's what I want all of us to do.
It doesn't feel great though, Raquel. Like I thought like all this self-work I thought it would, like, you take the time, you put the energy in. I thought it would feel fabulous. And it doesn't. It does sometimes. Like sometimes you hit those moments and you're like, okay, I'm having a breakthrough. But most of the time, like working through it, it fucking feels like shit.
You're going through it. You're not tamping it down.
When I tamped it down, I was numb. I didn't feel any of it. So it didn't.
But then I know. And I know people are listening to it. Well, numb sounds pretty damn good.
I mean, numb.
I get that. But then it comes out in really inappropriate places and ways.
Yeah.
So with this, you're taking the effort to do what you need to do to take care of you. You know, it's on. This is a way to think about it. Okay. Sorry, I got really excited.
Okay, good.
It's like you're listening to your inner child. It's like little Jenny is like, I'm upset and I need somebody to listen to me. Don't just shove me down and listen to me. You're listening to little Jenny.
It's so heightened taking care of my mom because she triggers that little girl like nothing you've ever seen. Like I'll be like, I'm in zen, I'm feeling good, and she can do something and it's like it hurts to the core because I'm so disappointed, I guess, that my mother doesn't love me. I know she loves me, but that's what it feels like. My mom doesn't love me.
The fact that you even acknowledge that, you're listening to that little girl inside.
Oh, that little girl, is she ever going to be healed?
Well, sure. But sometimes she just needs people to listen to her. And that's our job as grown-ups, is to listen to the little kids inside of us.
Okay, Raquel. It's so hard.
I know, it is. And I'm not saying everybody has to be perfect or they have to do the work perfectly or whatever, or they have to become like some Zen master or some guru or whatever. If you don't do the things that help you heal, like I said before, it's going to come out in ways that you don't want them to.
Oh, it does.
Like we've talked before about when I was suicidal and I actually got to the point where I had a plan and ambulance came and the whole thing. I was not using good coping skills. And I got to that point. I wasn't talking to people. I was trying to do all of it by myself. I wasn't problem solving, which that's a huge one for me, is if things are feeling really, really huge and overwhelming, I have to get to a point where I can try to problem solve. Like if I can see a solution, then that helps me realize it's not catastrophic. Right? So I can get to the next point. And so I wasn't doing any of that. I was literally just reacting for years, right? And I got to a point where I was like, can't do it anymore. This pain sucks. I don't want to live this way anymore. I just don't want to live. I'm done. Nothing I do is right. Nothing is working. But I wasn't talking to people. I wasn't talking to anybody. Or I would try to talk to some people, and there were people who were in my life at that time who were like, yeah, you don't want to talk about that because people don't want to hear that. It makes them sad. Okay, I thought you were my friend, but okay. all right, I guess and
I
guess you're speaking for all of our friend group that they don't want to hear it either. Okay.
I mean, I think that's valid in a way that some people are not really in your corner. Like we have people who we think are our friends and we think they're, I don't have a really good way to say this. We think they're important, but they're actually really not helping.
Yeah.
Like, fine, they can't deal with it. So really, I guess go away and let me find someone who I can talk to.
Right. But I was in a headspace at that time where I was like, oh, nobody wants to hear this.
Oh.
And so that's how it landed for me at that time. And I already, just by nature, am the kind of person that's like, I can take care of everything. Same. I'm going to do it all by myself. I don't need help from anybody. And it went just way too far. Thankfully, one of the things that came out of that whole experience was I don't have to do it by myself. B, I really can't do everything by myself. And C, it's okay to rely on other people. I started opening up a lot more, and that became a better coping skill for me. And then also within that, learning who I could open up to, because I don't just open up to everybody. Opening up to the people that I know will be an ally for me, right? And so, that, and then learning things that therapy was very important, and learning that being aware of my thoughts and of my feelings is very important. So mindfulness is very important to me. Having quiet time, knowing when I need to just be still. Those things are all very important. And then sort of an offshoot of that is setting boundaries for myself. Because there would be people who would be like, hey, let's go do blah, blah, blah. And, and I would have to say, I'm sorry, I can't today. It's been a really busy week and I'm not doing anything today. Somebody would be like, oh, but it's only, how about we just go wherever for an hour? And I'm sorry, it's been a hard week. And at first it was so hard to do that. But I needed that boundary for me. Like, that was learning how to protect myself and not wear myself out too much. So yeah, what came out of all that is learning better coping skills. And yeah, I mean, I'm still learning, and all these things I still have to practice. It's not like I did it once and now I'm good at it forever.
You don't have to answer this question. I'm just curious, but if it's too personal, just tell me to shut up, because people have to do that sometimes. So you went through your attempted suicide. You went through therapy. Do you ever get dark enough since then that you think about suicide still?
It has popped into my head since then. It's been a few years since that's happened. There were times sort of closer to that attempt where it would sometimes still pop up. It doesn't pop up anymore. I think what it is that because I've had that attempt, it's always somewhere, but it's not right up front. And it's somewhere in the sense that I'm keeping an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't get too close. And that's where the mindfulness
stays
part and the boundaries come in for me, is being aware of how I'm feeling, being aware of how I'm reacting to things. If I feel like my reactions are a little out of whack to things, like if they're just way too big, then I realize, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to be quiet and just be still and recharge, be still. And to not feel guilty about it, because, oh my God, for the longest time, I felt so guilty about doing that. Sure. And that took a long time to be like, I can't feel guilty about this.
Guilt is such a wasted emotion, really.
It is.
Brene Brown had this book that came out that we talked about before, Acts of the Heart. She talks about being stressed, and this is what she says. We feel stressed when we evaluate environmental demand as beyond our ability to cope successfully. This includes elements of unpredictability, uncontrollability, and feeling overloaded. So to me, that's really interesting, because it's not necessarily what happens, it's our perception of whether we can handle it or not. So when I think about, like, when I've been stressed in my life and it's been like work-life balance, it's not that these things were happening, that I had work and home. I was questioning my ability to handle it.
Yep.
That's interesting when you like take a step back and look at it that way. The first time I ever remember becoming acutely aware of my stress, I was working for Target, and I was trying to get a promotion. And I had this boss, and she was very intelligent. She had kind of what I call an old world management style, where she sort of like pounded down on people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women had to do that in the beginning to get into these positions. So I liked her. I liked her. I kind of respected her. She stressed me out. I remember becoming aware of it because she would call these like team meetings, and everyone would come up, and she'd have these big boxes of chocolate, this big bowl of chocolate that she would bring to the team meeting. And she would like give us all these orders, and we got to, and I would find myself like eating this chocolate like at tremendous rates. And all I could think about after an interaction with her was chocolate. I need chocolate. I need chocolate. And after about, I don't know, working with her for about 6 months, I realized that my stress was actually quelled by chocolate. I mean, truly, I still do it to some extent. So I would have a stressful interaction with a boss, and I would eat chocolate. And I've done it for years. Now, sometimes I'm smarter than that, and I will have a stressful interaction with a boss, and I'll go running, or sometimes I'll go for a walk. But a lot of times I still eat chocolate. Like, chocolate is my stress reliever.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of it, which is different, but I still haven't quelled that monster. Do you have any, I don't know, like, I guess you have like addictions like that you use?
I do stress eat.
Me too. What kind of food do you like to eat when you're stress eating?
Oh, well, yeah, chocolate.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, chocolate's a big one. Sweets, ice cream is huge.
I love that.
Oh my God, and carbs. I can eat pasta all day long. Give me a bowl of pasta or some mac and cheese, or just some noodles with some butter and some cheese on it. Carbs, all the carbs.
Well, I mean, they call it comfort food for a reason, right?
Oh, yeah.
For me, when I eat a big bowl of mac and cheese or pasta or something, it feels full in my belly. Like the feeling of that fullness.
It's warmth.
Yeah, it's comforting.
It's like a hug from the inside.
It really is. So I'm not sure that that's such a bad thing, really. There's something comforting about that full, not overly full, but the full belly that feels satiated.
It's like, oh, it's not empty anymore. It's like you filled that void. That's it.
That's what we're trying to do. That's why we love it.
That is right.
Oh my gosh, Raquel. Oh my gosh, that's it. I'm not empty anymore. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
The look on your face is classic.
Because it makes 100%. It makes so much sense, because it is the emotional, but it's also what it feels like in the body.
Yeah.
That is why we've been doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to say right now, there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't think so either. And then another thing that I do, which, it's not the healthiest thing in the world.
What is it?
Alcohol. A good glass of wine, a yummy cocktail. Sometimes there's just something about it, and it's like that hit the spot.
Well, what does alcohol do? It's kind of numbing. I have numbed myself emotionally. Just another way to do that same thing.
Yeah. And trust me, I mean, it's not like, I'm doing it in excess. And it's not just like, it's alcoholic, I'll take it. Because if I don't like the taste of it, it's not going to happen. Oh, and as far as numbing too, I will take a nap.
Oh, me too. I'm a big go to sleeper. I can't feel anymore.
Yep.
I'm out. I'm out of this game.
Yep. I will turn off all the lights, and I'll grab my blankie and I'll snuggle up, and then my cat will come and snuggle up with me. And I'm like, that's it. I'm taking a nap.
Me too. Is that so bad?
If we do any of these things to the point where we're neglecting things that have to get done.
Okay, so I've been playing around with these yogic cards, and the one I read today I'm not good at these yogic words. This is called pratyahara, and it's one of the 8 stages of yoga.
Okay.
I drew it upside down, so
Okay.
that's reverse. It said, this is exactly what we're talking about. It said, this is the time to retreat and draw back into yourself, letting go of any crutches you've used in the past to make you feel good. Chocolate, coffee, social media, TV, to withdraw oneself from that which nourishes the senses. Let go of it all so that you can realize who you truly are.
Wow.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Since I got this deck of cards, I've drawn that card upside down 3 times. And it's what we were talking about with Maria Holmes also, when she said, you have to sit with it. You have to sit with it. You have to be with it. No more numbing it. No more feeding it chocolate. How do we get to the other side of it? This is exactly what we've been talking about. This is what every episode has built up to.
Exactly.
I feel like I need a big bowl of chocolate ice cream right now with like some nuts on top and a little whipped cream and maybe a cherry.
Right? Oh, yeah. Or like a big plate of pasta.
Yeah.
And I have pasta at home. I swear to God. I may go home and just like saute up a bunch of veggies and some garlic and throw some pasta in there. Oh, yeah.
Why is the self-work so, I guess difficult's not the right word. It's kind of difficult. It's kind of painful. It's freeing at the same time. It feels joyous. It feels awful. Why is it such a, and then do we get to the other side? Like, that's the thing. Do we know anybody who's gotten to the other side?
Well, I think the other side is that
I want a big party at the other side.
But you know what? I think we are at the other side in that we do feel all the things. We aren't stopping ourselves from feeling some of the things. I'm not necessarily at the other side yet, because there's a lot of feelings I don't let myself feel all the time.
Yeah.
Or if I do feel them, then I'm judging the hell out of them.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah, I can judge myself up and down and side to side and harder than anybody else can judge me, like in a heartbeat. Maybe that's what's on the other side. I don't know anybody who's on. I don't think if I do know somebody who's on the other side, am I aware of it? Do I like them?
I feel like the goal is to be able to experience all of these things that life has to offer, the stress, the heartache, the joy, the love, the blessings, the non-blessings, to be able to experience all of it and still keep your heart open to it.
That's huge.
And that's where I have a really hard time, because probably like everyone, that's probably a universal thing. The pain that I have felt in my life has made me close my heart, and I don't want to feel any more pain. So I choose to live on the surface rather than feeling it. So now I'm like opening up my heart again. I'm taking all this in, and things hurt. I had a very small relationship with a new man. We had like 6 dates. And when it ended, it hurt. I asked my therapist, I'm like, why does this hurt so damn much? I barely know this person. Yeah. And she said, it's because you let yourself take a chance again. Yeah. You let yourself dream and want and desire, and that allowing yourself to open your heart up opens yourself up to the risk of being hurt. I think Tiffany from when we did the grief episode. Yeah. I think she might say that you were grieving the possibility of what could have been. Yeah, but it was only 6 dates. It wasn't like we had but that's what I'm saying, is that you were grieving what could have been, and there's nothing wrong with that. I will say this. It was a real positive experience, because this was the first man I met in a long time that had a feminist brain. Love it. Yes. And it gave me so much hope. They exist out there. And there you go. Just to know that is worth so much. Just to know that it is possible. It is.
So see, you got something out of it. Y'all experienced some joy together.
True.
But then you also got that lesson, that takeaway.
Yeah.
That there are feminist men out there.
Yeah. I felt like this was the first person I met in a long time, male-wise, not female, but male-wise, who thought very similarly to how I think. And I thought, wow, we can have some really great conversations.
Yeah.
I dug that a lot.
Good. That's a great takeaway.
Yeah. But it hurt. I had to feel like pain too. And I didn't like that so much.
Pain totally sucks.
I actually told my therapist, she was like, why are you so upset? And I said, I'm so upset because I'm so angry with myself for allowing myself to think it was even possible. And she was like, okay, back off that, back off. And then last night, this is funny, I had a dream where I confronted him and I was like, angry and I was yelling at him and I was like, you lied to me. He never did lie to me, but I was like, you lied to me, and I punched him in the dream because I was so angry. And I realized I wasn't angry at me. I actually was angry at him. And I woke up and I was glad that I was angry at him instead of me.
Well, that's good. You worked through it. That's a very cathartic dream.
I hate dating.
Yeah,
we're back to that topic again.
Oh yeah. Dating can be, that's another stressor.
Oh yeah.
Dating.
That brings on a lot of stress thoughts, like will I end up alone? Will I never find someone? Are there men who even have feminist vision? Learn that there are. So that's good. If I let my mind go there, that's stressful.
I think the important thing about the things that we're talking about and experiences that we've had is that we are coming through those things. We have not been defeated by these things.
True.
Partly because we are learning and utilizing new and improving coping skills all the time. We have to, and I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you and to our listeners and everybody, we have to give ourselves credit for the work that we do that is actually helping. So good on us.
We've come a long way.
We really have. We have come a long way. And it's okay to pat ourselves on the back for that. So yeah.
Big self hug.
Big hug. Big hug to all listeners. Big hug. Everybody hug yourselves because you deserve it. So yeah, we're doing all right. And if anybody is in a position where you're not doing all right, it's okay. You got this. If you have people in your life, talk to them. If you think you don't have people in your life, find other avenues. There's therapy, there's in-person therapy, there's group therapy, there's apps, there are so many ways to find people who will listen. And if talking to people isn't your thing, then write it out, journal. If you aren't sure how to do it, get online. There's all kinds of websites and apps and things about journaling. Soulful Journaling is really good for that. She posts questions and things all the time, even just some kind of movement. And don't think about it as, oh my God, now I have to go work out. No, just put on a song you like and boogie. Just get yourself moving, because sometimes you just have to just shake it out of yourself, or just sit still and listen to the silence, or listen to your breath, or listen to music that's calming and soothing and uplifting. There are ways to get through stress. Don't let stress kill you. Please. Don't want to lose any of you because stress got to you first. Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.